Ladies and gentlemen, the summer movie season is officially here, kicking off with The Fall Guy starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, directed by David Leitch. Let's jump to this review on this podcast.
I scream, you scream for movies, and that's what we be doing.
What is good, movie fans? Welcome to I Screen, You Scream for number 4 for movies. I'm Danny Escamilaggi. Before we get started, do not forget to subscribe to the podcast, whatever you're listening on audio, or if you're watching this by YouTube. And do not forget to also follow me on Twitter and TikTok. They'll both be in the show notes in the description of each episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, summer's here. Movie season just keeps getting hotter and hotter. And this time, unlike previous series, we've been kicking off with Marvel movies. 2022, we had Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. 2023, last year, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And now, this is something very different. And because of the strike-related issues, we're supposed to get Deadpool 3, which is Deadpool and Wolverine. But instead, we got another film shifted into this month of release of May, kicking off. And that is The Fall Guy. Directed by David Leitch, who is coming off from Bullet Train, which, want to give a quick reminder, I have the Bullet Train episode in my podcast feed, but not on the YouTube feed for those that want to check it out. But Bullet Train was a absolute blast, and when he was doing this movie, The Fall Guy, I got excited because I do love his work of what he brings. And such notably well, he is a stunt coordinator to be a director. So it's very exciting that he is doing this movie, and he's not only directing this, but you got two leads starring in this movie. You got Ryan Gosling, well known favorably right now, coming off from Barbie, and coming off from his Saturday Night Live sketches, which recently gained amazing praise for how much star power he has. And you got Emily Blunt in the co-starring seat, which right now I have to say, this is the most thing I'm expecting for what co-stars deliver, and that is great chemistry. And let me just state this real quick. The Fall Guy has most everything you could imagine for what the trailer's shown. While the trailer songs were garbage at times, you still get these amazing chemistry. Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, they're in this movie together, and you expect what chemistry they can bring. Everything is going to be stated when I'm going to talk about this episode, and it will surprise to what you guys expect. So, kicking off, the co-star chemistry between Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt were unreal. And when I say unreal, I mean very amazing, very electric, very fun. This is what I love watching co-stars do. Not only for the chemistry, but for the romance, the build-up relationships. And they happen to build that a lot in this movie. And I truly enjoyed their dialogue in this movie. And nothing cliche about it whatsoever, too, which is the best part. Their chemistry and on-screen performances were incredible. And each of them separately their own parts of ways of that. They happen to be very good, no matter what movies, if they're separate or not. But both these actors are coming off from a rivalry studio matchup between Barbie and Oppenheimer, which came out last year. You had Emily Blunt and Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling and Barbie, and they're both coming together in this well-known project that I think people remember why this rivalry is meant to be. So they happen to be the leads in this movie, and they were amazing. They were fun to watch, very interesting. The stunt action coordination they did, they were fun. But Ryan Gosling, though, let's give him treat on that, because throughout his whole stunt action, this guy is already like Tom Cruise, the way he's done. And look, if Tom Cruise was in this movie, super amazing, would have been the same thing. But I can't say which one of them will do better, but it will be the same kind of like feel of what these stunts are all about. And with Ryan Gosling right there, I think he happens to be exactly what Tom Cruise should do. And this is how and why he's well deserved to be praised, and why he should be more like this. And not only that, but this is also a stunt comedy as well. The stunts he pulled off was great. The comedic performance was great. And you know, Gosling just has a lot of things going forward to him. And I'm going to say, I hope he gets more treatment to that going forward, whatever project he does. And even if they're going to be series movies, I think this is well likely that, like Barbie, Gosling has great comedic performance and solidifying dialogue, romance performance that he delivers very well. on his behalf. And of course, Emily Blunt, which I want to mention, I do love watching and seeing Emily Blunt on screen with whoever co star she goes up with. And this is a type of casting you never see often, but this is the first time she appears with Gosling together. And this is like a fun, dynamic chemistry. You love seeing how beautiful co stars are they can be. And Emily Blunt's one of those nice co star females that truly deserve to be seen with another star. And this just feels like Kitty, which Kitty, this is a character she plays. Emily Blunt plays in Oppenheimer, and co-starring with Ken Gosling. And it just feels crazy that you may not see that kind of like performance and personality if they were just their own movies, but then when they're out of their own personality, it's like this is so enjoyable to the fullest and delightful. It's just the kind of thing that's so cute the way you can see these co-stars interact. And man, Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling is probably one of the best treatment co-stars for rom-coms we ever seen up to this day forward, which is why this movie is well known to be marketed for their co-star chemistry and what The Fall Guy has to offer. And if you're only thinking that you're getting just a rom-com, it is also a action stunt comedy by David Leitch, who is directing this and also to be known as a stunt coordinator as well. And I'm going to say, huge David Leitch fan coming off from Bullet Train, which is my personal favorite film of his, to be honest. He did an amazing job with this film and stirring up the co-star chemistry of a direction with two characters, with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt in this film. But the action and stunts right there in this movie, they're entertaining and wild. And this is sort of a love letter to the stunt community when it comes to the, franchise IPs known for stunts. You had Mission Impossible, you have John Wick, and I was going to say Jackass, but it's one of those IPs you don't want to say they're stunt safe because it's just a stunt kind of like driven purposely that you may end up wondering if this is a stunt or not. But I'll just put Jackass just in case if it does count. But basically, the stunt community around the stunts of movies. It's sort of like a love letter, the way how David Leitch made this movie. And this is something that he kind of had his craftery in mind to where he wants to build this kind of project to bring love to the stunt community and why this film is deserving to make this kind of film just entertaining and wild and enjoyable to the fullest when you look at this movie. And that's just the way how David Leitch does it. And no other way to describe, but as much, like I said, I do love Bullet Train way more. The Fall Guy happens to be for sure my second favorite, and I actually loved a lot too what he offers on the table with this film, and I think it's so deserving. I can't wait to see what he does next movie, to whatever project he does, and I'm sure this is going to be something very nice to what he does next. The soundtracks I want to bring up, David Leitch is that type of director that I think he likes putting sort of real-life songs of product placement to these films, and I know a Taylor Swift song was used in this movie. I don't know what the name is, but Taylor Swift fans will be so delightedly excited to hear what song this is if they're able to watch the movie. But bangers after bangers of songs used in these movies like this is pretty fun and entertaining to listen to. And I can't name most of the songs, but some of the songs probably even remixed with the current soundtrack of this movie composed. Can't think of one person who did it, but the soundtracks are just very entertaining, and I'm sure these type of soundtrack bangers will apply to more of David Leitch's films, and they're just wildly entertaining to the fullest to why bringing these type of banger songs that people enjoys is so entertaining that you will be either happy to hear what songs played or unexpected, like what to know what songs played in these movies like that for The Fall Guy is truly an ideal of something innovative that you're going to also remix the songs to the soundtrack of the movie. And definitely something worth looking at of why The Fall Guy is really entertaining in such a piece way. Now, by any means, there are quite flaws that aren't noticeable, but I think to my degree, it's quite noticeable in some other way. So, first off, the runtime of this film, it should be like 2 hours and something minutes. I feel like some scenes and some parts of the movie is a little long to the extent, especially I think the third act, it was sort of too long. And even though it's enjoyable, I do like the third act as well. And the second act just kicks it off very well. it's sort of a little long and excessive the way how this movie is like projected to be playing for long. I know some people may not realize that, but for me, I just kind of noticed that the film's a little long, and I noticed from people's reactions going to this movie, they did mention about the film being a little longer, and I feel like if 10 or 15, 20 minutes parts of this film could be cut a little bit, I think this would have bonds well to the pacing and the runtime of this film, and I think this could have been a little shortly better and not extended too long by any degree. And I think it's most ideal. I would have enjoyed this a little more on the score, just to like slowly and entertainingly just get through like almost an hour and 50 minutes. It was, like I said, cut short to like some degree of this kind of film to make it just passable, you know? And to simply just conclude my actual thoughts of The Fall Guy, it is entertainingly good, not great, not incredible the way I anticipated before, and not many people expect it to be just great or incredible, but has to be good. Good enough for a movie like this to be enjoyable and entertaining in such reality. If you are a Ryan Gosling fan, you're going to pretty much love this film a lot. You're going to even love the chemistry thrown with Emily Blunt. And if you happen to be an Emily Blunt fan to some degree, you'll also love the chemistry with Ryan Gosling. And if you're a David Leitch fan or some other ways of like movie fans, if you are a Deadpool 2 fan, if you're a Bullet Train fan, and he also was credited to directing John Wick, the first one. If you happen to be a David Leitch fan in general, then I think this film will solidify to your liking to what you want from a stunt action comedy. And we never had these stuff often for rom-coms, but this is a amazing, solid rom-com action stunt comedy by David Leitch, and Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt just electrifyingly amazing with good chemistry. And that is why I truly was excited for this film because of those factors, and it turned out to be just good enough, to say the least. The Fall Guy, if you can ignore these cons, what I stated, whatever it's true or not, you're gonna simply enjoy it. And not to mention, this film has got a great cinema score. Not the greatest, but a good cinema score, excuse me. You have an A minus. And just to quickly talk about briefly on the box office report as of May 5th, it has made over $28 million, $28.5 million, which is currently under tracking the performance, which was supposed to perform from 35 to 40. Now, it's a little concerning because the budget for this movie is very high, and it just worries that if people have been wanting original IPs to go watch. And this is the thing too. Even people on Twitter lately has been crazed on the underperformance for The Fall Guy, underperforming from the projections. And the only way that I can say is if it has enough legs throughout the month of May, despite marketing competition going forward, you have Apes, you have Furiosa, you have Garfield, you have If. I think the legs will just be fine for a few weeks ahead before June kicking off. And look, here's what I'm going to say. Go out and support this movie. Because look, I know people have been wanting these original IPs for so long, and Fall Guy happens to be that kind of IP people never sees often. And even though I never learned the fact until then, this was a TV show before. So because it's not been well known a lot, it's considered to be an original IP. And that is just wild that people that want original IPs don't happen to show up, even for the star power will of Ryan Gosling. And it's not that it's mostly unoften that he's been getting, but it's just that the IP power for this film and how consider it's original that people want just never show up. And it's kind of like disgraceful that people chose not to able to go out and support these original IPs instead of like IP franchise and sequels. And The Fall Guy is just entertaining enough. So to my conclusion, to let you all know, for those that haven't seen The Fall Guy or plan to go to the movies this time around, please check it out. And please don't wait for streaming, because I think if you go see on the bigger screen that's available on, you're gonna simply enjoy a lot to how fun it is and how amazing the stunt comedy rom-com is going to be. And that's just why I truly think original IPs must be seen on a big screen, especially with The Fall Guy. And it's truly well deserving to why theatrical is important to these original IPs for what this movie has to offer. And just one more time for the record straight, if you haven't seen The Fall Guy, or if you're planning to go into the movies this summer around, especially this month of May, please put The Fall Guy as your check mark to what you want to watch and go check it out. Original IPs are well deserved to be seen on the big screen, and I promise you, this film does deliver the way you want, especially from the marketing of trailers. You got stunts, action, rom-com co-star chemistries. It has everything you could want, and I promise it delivers. So go check out The Fall Guy if you've not seen it just yet. But ladies and gentlemen, pretty much stated everything that I enjoyed about this film. So I think that's going to be it going forward with this review of The Fall Guy. But ladies and gentlemen, stick around to next episode because I am excited to review next coming episode, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and it will serve a question to what I discussed an episode ago with Jeff Bach on the summer preview episode. Do people care about this IP regardless to what happened from the franchise years ago and the fate of Caesar's legacy? And that is where you can subscribe to the podcast if you're excited to even check out and staying tuned for the review of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And of course, I wanted to mention this real quick. I will be having a huge special new coming guest who will be part of the discussion of this IP question if people cares about this IP. Unlike original IPs, that's unfortunate for the Fall Guy to underperform. We will see what Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes has to offer, and I think this will truly do bigger next week, so we shall see. But ladies and gentlemen, like I said, stay tuned for the review of the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes coming up. Very excited for this film, and I'd be very happy to get hyped for it. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have not subscribed to the podcast, you must subscribe to whatever you're listening on. Do not forget to check out the YouTube feed as well. If you're just a podcast listener, you're not getting the full story of what you'll see. You not only get to see my face and this new mic I got, but I will be having a variety of guests here and then. So do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel for full story context of interactions. And do not forget to check out the social media platforms, which I'll be posting video clips of on Twitter and on TikTok. And of course, the quick reviews of this film. I just posted a TikTok review of The Fall Guy on TikTok. So all these video clips and other content to be posted, you must simply check out the social media platforms on Twitter, X, and TikTok. Each of the subscriptions or descriptions of these episodes will be left in each episode. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, nothing much to say, but until then, this is Danny Escamolaji signing off of I Screen, You Scream for number 4 for movies. Stay screaming for the movies, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.